The world had never seen a mercy like him. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the hope of the oppressed, the shelter of the broken, and the voice of justice. His love was a light that touched every heart, a love deeper than life itself. When the news of his final illness spread, Madinah darkened. The earth beneath the believers' feet shook. It wasn't just the loss of a man, it was the loss of the soul of the world. For his family, especially Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and Bibi Fatima Zahra, salam alayha, it was not just grief, it was the tearing apart of their very beings. And for the true lovers of Ahl-e-Bait, it was a wound that would never heal. This is their story. This is our sorrow. This is the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as remembered by those whose hearts still bleed. The days were growing heavier in Madinah. The winds seemed to whisper sorrow, the sun felt less warm, and every breath carried a strange weight. As if the universe itself was preparing for a heartbreak it could not bear. Inside his modest home, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lay resting, his body weakened by years of sacrifice, battles, hunger, and sleepless nights spent in prayer and tears for his ummah. His noble face, once radiant with divine light, now glowed with a pale softness, yet his eyes still sparkled with endless mercy. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself had begun to hint towards his departure. In his final sermons, he repeated again and again, "I am leaving among you two weighty things, the Book of Allah and my Ahl-e-Bait. Hold firmly to them, and you shall never go astray after me." Scroll. At Ghadir, he had publicly declared, with tens of thousands as witnesses, "Whoever I am master of, then Ali is his master." Yet, he knew, he could feel, that dark clouds were already gathering. His illness began shortly after his return from the farewell pilgrimage. A fierce fever gripped him. Pain coursed through his blessed body. He could no longer stand to lead prayers without support. He leaned heavily on Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and others to even move from one place to another. Despite his suffering, his heart remained with his people. Even in weakness, he continued to remind them, "Do not abandon the Quran. Do not wrong my family after me. Fear Allah regarding my Ahl-e-Bait." His voice, though faint, was soaked in love and desperate concern. A father warning his children of a fire he could already see approaching. Fire. Some companions, who once pledged loyalty, began plotting their own power. They questioned his leadership while he was still alive. And in his final days, when he asked for a pen and paper to dictate a statement that would protect the Ummah from his guidance, they accused him, God forbid, of being delirious. Tears filled the eyes of Imam Ali, alayhi salam. Bibi Fatima Zahra, salam alayha, wept silently as she witnessed how the hearts were turning, even before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had left this world. The walls of Madinah felt heavy. The heavens wept quietly. The earth prepared for the heaviest night since its creation. Those who truly loved him clung to him, not wanting a moment to pass without being near his blessed presence. They knew every heartbeat was precious now. Every glance, every word, every sigh was a treasure they would soon lose. And amid all this sorrow, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, remained calm. He was not afraid for himself. He was afraid for his ummah. He was afraid for those he loved more than himself. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, Bibi Fatima Zahra, salam alayha, and the few true ones who would remain loyal till the end. The room was quiet, except for the faint sound of breathing. The house of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The house that had witnessed countless moments of joy, of wisdom, and of divine revelations, now felt as though it had become the epicenter of grief. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, ever the rock of strength, sat by his side, his heart heavy with an overwhelming sorrow. His beloved prophet, his brother, his master, was slipping away before his eyes. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, but his face remained stoic. He knew his duty. He knew that, despite his own heart breaking into pieces, he had to be strong for the one who had always been his strength. Bibi Fatima Zahra, salam alayha, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sat beside him, her tears flowing freely down her face. She had always been the light of her father's life, and now she saw that light dimming. Her father, who had been her protector, her guide, was leaving her. The same father who had cradled her as a child, who had held her close and whispered words of wisdom and comfort, was now in his final moments. The pain in her heart was beyond words. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lay weak, he opened his eyes and looked at his daughter. In that moment, the entire world seemed to disappear. There was only Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam Allah alaiha, her father, and the deep, unspoken bond between them. With a faint smile, he reached out and gently placed his hand on her forehead. The tears in her eyes spoke volumes, yet she tried to hold herself together, knowing that the time had come for her to let go, to let her father go to his eternal home. In those last moments, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spoke to Imam Ali, alayhi salam, his voice barely above a whisper. "O Ali, I leave my family in your care. You're their protector. Be their strength, be their shield. Hold firm to the rope of Allah, and take care of them as I've always done. You are their master after me." Imam Ali, alayhi salam, nodded, his heart breaking, but he knew that this was his final promise to the one he loved more than life itself. The weight of the responsibility was immense, but Imam Ali, alayhi salam, knew that Allah had prepared him for this moment. He would fulfill his duty as the successor of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, no matter the trials ahead. But the room was not just filled with the tears of the Ahl-e-Bait. The air itself seemed to mourn the departure of the last and greatest of prophets. Outside, the companions gathered. They could feel the heavy silence in the air, but most were too distracted by their own concerns, by the politics and the leadership questions that had already begun to stir. They failed to understand the depth of the moment. But the family of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, especially Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam Allah alaiha, were the ones who truly understood. They were the ones who could feel the world trembling around them. They had lived through the years of hardship, the years of sacrifice, and now they were faced with the greatest challenge yet, losing the one who had been the source of their strength. As Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, breathed his last, a deep silence fell upon the household. It was the kind of silence that spoke louder than any words could. The silence of a world that had lost its greatest light. The silence of hearts broken beyond repair. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, held his beloved Prophet's hand, tears slipping from his eyes, though he tried to hold them back. Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam Allah alaiha, whispered softly to her father, "O my father, how can I live without you?" But she knew that now she must carry the legacy of his love, of his teachings, and of his example. The loss was unbearable, but what could they do? They had to be strong. They had to move forward, not for themselves, but for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who had entrusted them with a mission, a purpose. As the final breath of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, left his body, the earth felt different. The universe seemed to pause, holding its breath, as though it, too, could not bear the weight of this loss. In the heart of Madinah, the air was thick with grief, yet the world moved on, as if it did not understand that the greatest man to ever walk the earth had just departed. The family of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, especially Imam Ali, alayhi salam, stood in the midst of their overwhelming sorrow, yet their hearts were resolute. They had to bury him. They had to lay their beloved prophet to rest. But the burial of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not as one might expect for a leader of nations. The house of the Prophet, a house that had once been filled with joy, wisdom, and light, was now filled with silence and sorrow. The angels must have wept as they watched Imam Ali, alayhi salam, with tears in his eyes, prepared to lay his beloved prophet to rest. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam Allah alaiha, were at the center of it all. They had been with him through every hardship, every moment of joy, every battle, and every victory. Now, they were faced with the greatest challenge, burying the man who had been their world. The grief in their hearts was suffocating, yet their love and respect for him gave them the strength to carry on. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, as always, took on the task of burying Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself. The task was not just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, and mental. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, had to lower his brother and master into the earth, knowing that this was the final separation. No longer would he hear the voice of the Prophet calling him to battle. No longer would he receive his guidance. No longer would he feel the warmth of the Prophet's love and mercy. Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salamallah alaiha, stood by, her heart breaking, but she knew her duty as well. She had been the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and now she had to honor him by enduring the pain of this loss. Her hands, which had once been held by her father, now trembled as she placed flowers on his grave, trying to hold together the pieces of her broken heart. The grave was prepared. The family of the Prophet gathered around. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, despite his overwhelming grief, performed the final rites with a dignity that came only from Allah's grace. His tears fell onto the earth as he gently laid Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to rest. The grave was small. The grave was humble. It was a symbol of the life Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had lived, a life of simplicity, humility, and sacrifice. There was no grand mausoleum, no towering monument. The grave of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was nothing more than a modest burial in the city of Madinah. Yet, in that simple grave, the world's greatest treasure was now buried. The greatest leader, the greatest teacher, the greatest prophet, all had now become part of the earth. As Imam Ali, alayhi salam, covered the grave, the tears did not stop. He had been with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through everything, through the battles of Badr, Uhud, Khandak, and countless other trials. But this was the greatest test of all. To bury his beloved Prophet was a pain that no warrior, no leader, no human could fully understand. And yet, as Imam Ali, alayhi salam, finished the burial and stepped back, he spoke words that would forever echo in the hearts of the believers. "O my beloved Prophet, I lay you to rest now. But know that you will live forever in the hearts of those who love you, those who believe in you, and those who follow your path." The funeral was over. The grave had been sealed, and the dust had settled over the humble resting place of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But for Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salamallah alaiha, the real pain had only just begun. The loss of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not just a personal loss. It was the loss of the greatest guide, the greatest teacher, the final messenger. The entire Ummah had just lost the one who had brought them out of darkness into light, the one who had given them hope in their darkest hours. But the world was already changing. The cries of the faithful were still echoing through Madinah, but the hearts of many were no longer with the Prophet's family. The political winds began to shift. Those who had once pledged loyalty to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family began to turn away. The divisions that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had warned of were beginning to take shape. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, despite the immense grief that filled his heart, found himself at the center of this storm. He was now the rightful leader of the Muslim Ummah, as Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had declared at Ghadir. Yet, the promises made in the name of loyalty to him were being broken before his eyes. The people who had once sworn allegiance to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who had called him their beloved Prophet, now stood divided, questioning the rightful successor of the Prophet. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, though burdened with his own sorrow, knew he had to protect the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He could not let the message be distorted. He could not let the Ummah fall into disarray. Meanwhile, Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salamallah alaiha, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, witnessed with heart-wrenching pain the betrayal that was unfolding before her eyes. The same people who had once called her father their beloved Prophet now turned away from his family. She had lost her father, and now she was losing the respect and love that should have been given to the family of the Prophet. The pain was unbearable. Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam alaiha, was not only mourning the loss of her father, but also witnessing the beginning of the injustices that would continue to haunt her family for generations. Her heart, broken by the death of her father, now faced the bitter reality of betrayal. The Ummah, which should have been united in their love for the Prophet and his family, was already fracturing. As Imam Ali, alayhi salam, sat by the grave of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he pondered deeply. He knew that the battle was not just physical, it was spiritual. He knew that the true followers of the Prophet would remain steadfast, but there would be many challenges ahead. The mission was not over. The Ummah needed guidance, and Imam Ali, alayhi salam, was ready to provide it, even if it meant facing opposition, even if it meant standing alone. But still, in the quiet moments when the weight of the world felt unbearable, Imam Ali, alayhi salam, would remember the last words of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Ali, you're the light of my life. You will carry my message when I am gone. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The legacy of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would live on through his Ahl-e-Bait, through Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and through those who truly understood the essence of his message. The days following the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were filled with pain, confusion, and a deep sense of loss. But there was something even more painful. A betrayal that began to unfold, one that would echo through history and change the course of the Ummah forever. As the mourners gradually began to leave Madinah, a sense of unease began to fill the air. The loss of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had left a void, a chasm that no one seemed able to fill. But more than that, the political instability that followed his death was overwhelming. The unity that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had worked so hard to establish was beginning to crumble. And at the heart of this divide was the rightful successor, Imam Ali, alayhi salam, the cousin, son-in-law, and confidant of the Prophet. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, had been appointed by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself as a successor, as declared a Gadir. He was the one who had been given the knowledge, the strength, and the spiritual guidance to lead the Ummah. But despite this divine appointment, despite the clear and unequivocal words of the Prophet, a faction of the community began to oppose Imam Ali, alayhi salam's leadership. Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam alaiha, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was heartbroken. She could not understand how the same people who had pledged loyalty to her father could now turn away from his family. The betrayal was not just political, it was deeply personal. The injustice was not just against the Ummah, but against the Prophet's own family, who had stood by him through thick and thin. But for Imam Ali, alayhi salam, this betrayal was not a surprise. He had always known the trials that lay ahead. He had known that his path would not be an easy one, that the love of the Prophet's family would not always be enough to keep the Ummah united. Yet, even in the face of this bitter betrayal, Imam Ali, alayhi salam, remained steadfast. He did not seek power for himself. He sought only to protect the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to ensure that the true teachings of Islam would endure. However, the betrayal was not confined to just words or political maneuvering. The situation escalated when Imam Ali, alayhi salam, was denied his rightful place as the leader of the Ummah. The people who had once stood with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, now gathered to choose a new leader without any regard for the divine appointment made a Gadir. The rights of Imam Ali, alayhi salam, were disregarded, and those who had once sworn allegiance to him now turned their backs. This betrayal was not merely a political act. It was an act that tore the fabric of the Muslim community. The foundations of justice and truth, which Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had established, were being shaken. The very essence of the Prophet's message was being distorted, and Imam Ali, alayhi salam, found himself in the position of defender of the truth. Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salam alaiha, seeing the injustice unfolding before her eyes, could not remain silent. She had lost her father, and now she was watching as the Ummah betrayed the very essence of his teachings. Her pain was immeasurable, but her strength was undeniable. She stood by her husband, Imam Ali, alayhi salam, who, despite the betrayal, refused to raise his sword in anger. Instead, he chose to stand firm in his belief, knowing that the struggle for the truth was not one of violence, but one of patience, wisdom, and unwavering faith. The struggle had only just begun. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, knew that the path ahead would be filled with trials, but he also knew that the truth would always prevail, no matter the cost. For now, he would remain silent, watching the events unfold, knowing that the day would come when the truth would rise again. As the years passed, the betrayal and struggles faced by Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and the family of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did not fade. The wounds that had been inflicted on the Ummah, the pain of losing the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the injustice faced by the Ahl-e-Bait remained as powerful as ever. Yet, amidst the darkness, there remained a light, the light of truth, justice, and faith. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had warned the Ummah of the trials that would come after his death. He had given clear instructions to follow the Quran and his Ahl-e-Bait, especially Imam Ali, alayhi salam, to preserve the purity of Islam. However, the betrayal of the righteous leader was a bitter reality. Despite the injustice and division, Imam Ali, alayhi salam, continued to stand firm. His heart was wounded, yet his resolve to uphold the truth never faltered. Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salaam alaiha, had stood by her father's side through every trial, and now she too faced the harshest trials. But her strength was a reflection of the strength and wisdom she had inherited from her father, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Though she had lost her father and watched the Ummah betray the teachings of Islam, her devotion to her father's legacy never wavered. She too knew that the truth would prevail in the end. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, though denied his rightful position as leader by some, knew that true leadership came not from titles or crowns, but from sincerity, justice, and a devotion to Allah. His leadership, though contested, would live on in the hearts of those who recognized the truth. The events following the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, marked the beginning of a long struggle for the family of the Prophet. But in their hearts, they carried the legacy of the Prophet, a legacy of wisdom, patience, and resilience. Even as the world tried to turn away from them, the light of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his message would never fade. It would live on in the teachings of Imam Ali, alayhi salam, in the courage of Bibi Fatima Zahra, Salaam alaiha, and in the hearts of the true believers. The Prophet's death had created a void, but it also gave birth to a new chapter in the history of Islam, one that would be filled with struggles, victories, and, most importantly, the preservation of the truth. The light of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his teachings would never be extinguished, and his message would continue to inspire and guide those who sought the truth. Through the dark days that followed, through the betrayal and the struggles, one truth remained clear. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, was the rightful successor, and the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was eternal. It would continue to guide those who followed the path of righteousness and justice, and the legacy of the Prophet would always remain alive in the hearts of those who loved him, honored him, and followed his way. The death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, marked the end of an era, but also marked the beginning of a new phase in Islamic history, one that would be shaped by the struggles of his family, especially Imam Ali, alayhi salam. Despite the betrayal, despite the injustice, the light of the Prophet's teachings would never fade. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, along with his family, stood firm, defending the truth and ensuring that the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would continue to shine through the generations. Imam Ali, alayhi salam's unwavering faith, wisdom, and leadership would continue to guide the Ummah, and the legacy of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would live on forever, a light that would never fade, no matter the trials the Ummah would face. The story of the death of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the struggles faced by Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and his family is not just a historical account. It is a lesson for all of us. It reminds us of the importance of holding on to the truth, standing up for justice, and remaining steadfast in the face of adversity. The legacy of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not just in the past. It lives on today in the hearts of those who follow his path. May we all strive to live by the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the example of Imam Ali, alayhi salam. And may we continue to carry the light of truth wherever we go.